All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Stories of Sapphire Live. Um, I am going to be doing live streams every single week, usually on Wednesdays. I had to move it this week because I yesterday got my COVID booster shot and it knocked me the F out. My entire body was on fire. I couldn't move. I was like, this is the worst. So, anyways, that's why I'm doing it today. Oh, thank you, Rocket Juice, for subscribing. Congrats on the booster. Yes, it was a good day for multiple reasons. Anyways, so I receive lots of emails, and sometimes they're really short. Too short to make it to the podcast or a YouTube episode. So I thought doing a live stream where I read those emails that don't make it would be kind of fun. And yeah, and I can answer your questions in real time. And what was the other thing I wanted to say? I think that's all. Let's get into it. So just like a heads up, I don't read these ahead of time. I maybe like skim it, but just so you know, so I might like trip up on like grammar or whatever, but just so you know, it's not going to be as polished, but hey, that's live, baby. Okay. And oh yeah, so information is right here. If you feel compelled to send me a story, you can send it to storieswithsapphire@gmail.com. And it really helps. Just here's a little tip. Here's a tip to catch my attention. Write a really good subject line, because sometimes you guys will just write, here's a story or story, and it's like, well, I don't want to click on that. Give me a subject line that makes me really want to click on it, and then my eyes will go there and I'll read it for you. Anyways, all right, here we go. Oh no, I lost the thing. All right, so this is from Audrey. What's up, Audrey? Don't know if you're watching right now. First off, I would like to say I love your podcast and your YouTube channel. Well, thank you. Something about your voice and the way you tell stories is amazing. Oh, do you like how I picked this one first? I wanted to tell you a short story, and I'm not really sure if it was a spirit or if it was just a coincidence, but I found it very odd. So I was in my mom's car and we were trying to listen to music, but the radio kept glitching in and out. We weren't in the woods or where there would be a reason for the radio to go in and out. We were very confused, but we thought it was nothing. The radio was normal for a while until it started glitching again. As a joke, I said, if there are any spirits in here, give us a sign. And then something peculiar happened. My mom's Siri went off and was showing some random pictures. We were so confused, and I thought it was very interesting. It would be great for you to tell me what you think. We have never had any paranormal experiences before, except for a lot of different orbs of light in our pictures when there was no sun. There are also odd shapes, and sometimes I can feel a presence. Nothing evil, though. I hope I can get some help on this if I understand. This is kind of off topic, but I'm going to this place at the end of the year where a lot of people have died, and there might be a chance for some paranormal experiences. If there is, I will let you know. Thanks for reading my email. Have an amazing rest of your day. Well, thank you, Audrey, for your kind words about my show and for sharing that. Let's see. So the first thing I want to say, you mentioned that you were going somewhere at the end of the year where a lot of people have died. I think that is a common misconception about the paranormal, is that if a lot of death occurred, that means that it's haunted. People have died everywhere. A lot of people have existed on this earth. So that alone doesn't necessarily mean anything. It usually is the circumstances of the death. How did they die? What was the person's headspace at the time, or because a lot of the times when people become earthbound spirits, it's partially because they either don't realize that they are dead, or there is some part of them that is holding them to the earth, whatever that may be. All right, let me catch up on this chat. Weird. Yes, Milky Rolls. It is weird. Okay, so let's see. Your radio kept going in and out, and then your mom's Siri went off, and it showed you a bunch of pictures. Well, I guess I wish you told us what the pictures were, because I'm wondering if that would give a kind of hint as to what was trying to communicate with you. But yeah, it's not uncommon for spirits to interact with technology in a way. I used to think that spirits could only communicate with or let me rephrase that. I never thought about spirits communicating through email or telephone, but my friend Lynn, Pacificar, Filipino shaman, she said, well, electronics are made of things of the earth. Like, why would it be any different? If they can manipulate other things, then they can manipulate electronics in that way. And I was like, what? Oh, bye, Sapphire Hidden. Yes, this is good to see you too. Hopefully see you next week. So, Audrey, I feel like I need more information to know whether or not that was paranormal, but based on what you said, I don't know, seems like a cool experience. I don't know what the message was, though, if something was trying to communicate with you, so sorry, I wish I could be of better help. All right, thank you, Audrey. All right, let's move this one. Oopsies. Dang it. Okay, that's what I need to do. Let's see, have any... All right. It's so funny. All the stuff that I do is usually so edited and polished, and when I do live streams, I'm just like, what? I'm like so chaotic. Milky Rolls. I was thinking of submitting a story based on true events, but the ending is pretty disappointing. What do you mean by a disappointing ending? Here's the thing, though. I personally really do like paranormal stories that are very simple. I think sometimes because of horror movies, because of paranormal TV, we tend to expect so much from the paranormal, and that's a huge thing that I'm trying to dispel. Is that the word? Dispel with my podcast, is that there is magic in the very, very unexceptional, if that makes sense, or unextraordinary. Ordinary, I guess would be the word. All right, so I have not read this yet, so hopefully it's okay. This is from Jack. A true story about contacting a spirit from a dream. Ooh. See, that's an example of a great subject line that catches my attention. Hello, Sapphire. My name is Jack, and I have reached out to share a true story my friend Kai experienced firsthand when sleeping at his grandma's house. He wrote it out for me in the format of a story and gave me permission to share it with you. All right. Silence filled the house as I stumbled up the stairs and into my bedroom for the night, taking a moment to scan my room, walls freshly painted with a light pink coat as the black Chinese writing gasped below it, trying to be seen. Turning back around, I swiftly sat down on my bed. I gawked at the sheer size of my new room. Although it wasn't much, it still couldn't compare to the tiny space I was confined to before, like a bird yearning to be free from its cage. Laying back down, I closed my eyes to awaken back in the house. This time, a much stranger sensation filled the air, like danger could loom in any corridor or lurk behind any corner as I stepped forth to meet my family, faces hopeless and scared. Go outside. Don't let Sammy hear you, my granddad grunted out in a painfully stern voice as I creeped towards the back door with my sister, only to be interrupted by something squeaking beneath my feet. A new type of silence pierced the room as I lifted myself back up. Everyone else suddenly scrambled around, trying to get outside, and in a panicked flurry, I head the wrong way. My mom, my sister, and my granddad shut the door behind me, locking me in. And as I turned the handle, hoping for some type of miracle to happen. He approaches. Skin like snow, head detached from his lanky body, polka dot suit glistening in the moonlight through the window, and no facial features to trace. I could only assume this was who they were talking about earlier. Sammy. He could not see me, for he had no eyes to see with, but I knew for a fact he knew where I was. Quick as lightning, I bolt upstairs, the only sounds other than my footsteps being his, pounding in my eardrums as I reached my room, being able to recount the very Chinese letters that plastered the white walls like before, then quickly climbing into bed and tucking myself in, adrenaline seeping in as he pushes open my door. I shove myself to the side, hoping to wake up, but no matter how many times I prayed, it kept coming closer, step by step, until he reached my bedside. Leaning in close, he began to whisper in my ear, words I could never forget. Are you asleep yet? Go to sleep. Are you awake? Over and over like a broken record. After a while of his husky yet hushed voice, I finally fell asleep, waking up in my bedroom to be greeted once again by my pretty pink walls. Since Kai has experienced this, he has had many experiences with other spirits and led us both into researching more into what these entities are and what they can do. What? Well, thank you, Jack. That's intense. What? That is wild. So, the description of this entity is very slender man-y. He's white with no facial features. Kind of also reminds me of a story I told in my podcast. I don't know if any of you listened to it, but there's this man who somebody saw a man who his features had little legs like bugs and they're crawling all over his face. I think about that all the time because it creeps me the crap out. I don't remember who told me this, but I have heard a theory where if an entity doesn't have a face, it means that... Wow, I don't remember. No, it was something like it doesn't know who it is. It can't remember its own identity, so it doesn't know how to appear. Something like that. Live. I can't edit that out. I almost said I'll cut this out. Yeah, that's wild. I get so many stories about people's dreams. Crystalline, ew, yes, ew is right. It is gross. It is creepy. It is scary. I don't like things crawling over faces, over our heads. All right, so let's do that. Boop, boop, apply. Okay, time for another story. Oh, maybe this one? That one seems a little long. What time is it, 5:18? All right. Let's do the pixie. All right, this one is called the Pixie, and it was submitted by, I'm so sorry, I'm going to mispronounce this, Diditi? All right. Again, have not read this before, so I might stumble. Ava and I lived in a same apartment. She was way younger than me, but it didn't affect our friendship. Ava's dad lived in London. She was an Anglo-Indian. When it was her 7th birthday, lockdown just started. She was sad and couldn't meet her friends. She came to my house and played with me. I took her to my room and gave her a surprise gift. She smiled lightly. That night, her mom invited us all to their apartment for dinner. She seemed quite happy. I asked her, "Hey, you cheered up?" "No problem. Next time we'll make sure you have a party. It will be so much fun." She nodded. Next morning, I was studying in my room when I heard her voice. She was looking for me. I went outside to greet her, but she clutched my hand and took me to her apartment. She opened a small diary. She showed me some pictures. It was of small flying creatures. It had wings but had spikes on its chest and large fangs. I was startled. I asked her what it was. She said, "It's a shoriri." I said, "Why did you name her like this?" In Bengali, a shoriri means the one without heart and body. I told her to forget about it and play outside with me. She refused and took me to her attic. She pulled out a knife, a big one. I snatched it from her and asked, "What is this?" She replied, "It's my birthday gift from Ashariri." I was shocked and frustrated. I left her apartment. Next morning, Aunt Priya, Ava's mom, rushed to our flat. She seemed worried and confused. She asked me, "Have you seen my daughter? This morning when she didn't come for breakfast, I went to her room to check. She wasn't there." I didn't know anything. That night I couldn't sleep. I searched the internet when I saw a newspaper. Children go missing. Unusual creatures found in their diaries. I was shocked. Next morning, I rushed to her apartment and took her diary. I still get shivers when I remember what was written there. It was blood. "Mom, Ashariri taught me how to make new Ashariris. We just need a knife. Stab a man, take out its heart, and burn it. It's so fun, and I have so many friends now. Tell Dee Dee to visit me sometimes. I will teach her this art too. I am leaving a gift for her. We found a packet next to the library. A knife with fresh blood on it, and something else was there too. A heart still beating." What? So I'm hoping that's not a true story. That's creepy. Thank you, DDD. You are the DD in the story. Are you? Tell DD's sister. Oh, wow. Okay. That was a cool story, though. I really hope that's not true, because that kid needs to be locked the F up. Thank you for sending that. Okay. All right. Let's see. What's another one to do? Oh, that one looks a little bit long. Banana Man 78. Nice. Yes. Oh, okay. This one seems interesting. All right. This one's called My Funeral Day from Adeline. I was a little kid again, but it was all different this time. I was in an all red poofy dress, but it wasn't only my dress that was red. Actually, everything around me was red. The walls, the ceiling, the carpet, and the painting I was looking at. It was an odd painting. There was a sickly woman in a red nightgown, and it seems like she was looking at me. Everything there was red too, except, of course, the black cat at her feet, who was also staring back at me with red eyes. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought I could make out a man's face. He didn't have a body, just a pale, wide, smiling man. I could hear people crying and exchanged apologies being said. I couldn't see them, though. I didn't know if they were in my head or behind me. I was frozen in place, so I couldn't see if it was the latter. My eyes were only fixed on the painting. My ears were only fixed on the crying. But when the painting fell and broke into shards of glass, I was able to move my head towards it, noticing that it was only glass and nothing more. When I lifted my head up, I was outside. I was still a kid, looking around at all of the graves. Nothing was red anymore. It was all yellow. My red dress was no longer red, but yellow. The sky, the grass, the unmarked graves, the walkway, everything was yellow, except the black cat sitting at the only marked grave. Beth. Beth? I didn't know who that was. The black cat's yellow eyes never left mine. And although this cat had different colored eyes, I knew it had to be the same cat. I could hear the crying again, still behind me. Are they following me? The only thing I could move were my feet, so I wasn't certain of it. I kept walking, mostly because I couldn't stop. The crying getting closer, the black cat farther away. That's when I saw the man again. He was still smiling as well. He was saying something, and even though he was only a few feet from me, I could hardly make out a thing. What I did hear snapped my head up to the yellow sky. 3 days ago, I was attending my own funeral, based off of my favorite nightmare from Adeline. What? You had a nightmare about your own funeral, but in it you were a child. How long ago was this nightmare? Ugh, I think that's like so creepy. Has anyone in the chat dreamt about their own death? I've definitely died in dreams before. They say you can't die in dreams, but I have died so many times. There's one I very specifically remember where I'm like in a car and then someone stabs me in the neck and then I'm just bleeding out and I'm like motionless and I know, like I can still see stuff, but I know that I'm dead. So I don't know what that's about. But anyways, that's not the same thing. So seems like colors definitely play a huge role in this dream. There is color psychology. You know, each color represents something else because every color gives off a certain vibration. So let's see. Red represents like passion, intensity. Oh, what happened? Oh, that was just my headphones. Sorry, something happened in my headphones. Yeah, passion, intensity. Yellow is usually for happiness, optimism, joy. So it kind of feels like everything in the beginning was very scary and intense, which is why it was very hot red. And then as you got further and further away from, I don't know, the thing that was chasing you, became yellow? I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. All right. Milky rolls. I jumped off a canyon once. Oh, in your dream. Okay. Yikes. Live stream red. Okay. All right. I think we have time for one more because I have a meeting at 5:45, but actually maybe we'll do two more. Let's see. Depending on oh. Sorry. Okay. What about the skinny man? That seems promising. All right, so this one's called The Skinny Man, submitted by, they did not leave their name, we'll say Nightjacks. All right. Hey Sapphire, before I start, I just want to say I have loved your stories for so long. Thank you. I remember being at a friend's house about 2017 or so, and we watched her old video of the Wendigo and the little fluffy guy who tried to get the child to kill herself. I have fallen in love with your stories since, though those two really terrified me. I apologize if I mess up a little bit with some words. I currently have a concussion and have been making typing mistakes a lot lately. Oh, maybe don't. You don't have to send me things when you have a concussion. All right, here we go. But I hope you're okay now. I was young when this happened. It was a nightmare I had the night of October 30th, the morning of the 31st, strangely enough. I was there with my 3 sisters, my mother, and father. There was an old-looking house overlooking a small lake. It was where my family and I would be staying for a few days. It was a fancy house. We passed a statue of a skinny man with no detail on his body. He was wearing a mask. It was just a plank of wood with eye holes. The skinny man was on a horse. We passed the statue and went inside. It was a pretty boring day. I ran through the empty hallway of the second story. It was gone. The statue was gone. I asked Mother about the missing statue. She recalled no statue out front. I never really looked at it. I was mostly focused on the house. I had just glanced at it for a moment. So I dismissed the odd situation. I guessed that I had seen wrong. I went to my room and laid down on the bed. This bed was rough, unlike mine back home. It had an uncomfortable blanket on it. The walls were an ugly shade of greenish gray. I liked the blue walls of my own room. I couldn't sleep in that bed, but I wasn't tired anyways. So I thought that maybe if I went and did something with my sister, I would be tired enough to return back to the house later and be so exhausted that I wouldn't mind my new bed. That night, at about 9, my older sister and I went on a small canoe out onto the lake. It had been a long time out there, and the sun had started to go down. We decided to return, but something grabbed the side of the boat and flipped it. My sister and I were trying to stay afloat. I'm not great at swimming, but I can probably make it to the shore. But then my legs began to burn. It was a cold burn. I was dragged down underwater. My older sister screamed. Suddenly, I was back above the surface. I wiped my eyes just in time to see my sister get dragged underwater. I swam away to the shore. I got up and tripped over something. I looked down to see both of my parents lying on the ground, slightly bloodied, not moving. I felt something cut my face, then my throat. It felt like something was grabbing me. I couldn't breathe. I woke up and saw this skinny man with the mask on my chest. I still couldn't breathe. I couldn't scream or move. I was petrified from my fear. Then he was gone. All I saw now were ugly green walls. Everything has seemed off since then. My family just seems different in an odd way. I'm happy that they're all safe, but I can still feel it. My life has gone on, but I truly believe that that demon or whatever it was real. I still get the feeling of him from being around horses. I used to work with them over the weekends. I could never shake that feeling, though. I just hope that if I ever see the skinny man again, I won't freeze. I hope that next time, I'll be ready. Oh, what? That's creepy. Thank you, Nijax, for sending that in. So you had a nightmare. That was a nightmare, but then things changed after. Oh man, I have heard of stories where, and this is from like someone I know personally, so it's like, why would he lie? Stories of people who would have nightmares, usually recurring, and then they wake up and then that whatever was in their dream is now in their waking life. So I mean, I don't know. That's wild. I don't know. It's too much, man. I don't know what else to say. Thank you for sharing that. All right, we got time for one more short one. No, that one might be too short. Again, too short. All right, here's our last one for today. This one is from Crow. Hi, Sapphire. I'm a big fan of your work. I love your stories and all you do. Well, thank you. My Aunt Maria loved to color. She would color for my sister and I, and we would color with her. It was always my favorite part of visiting their house. I didn't use an alias since she's dead and all my uncles are dead too. She died a few days before my 9th birthday. I was very young. I can remember my sister and I sobbing on the floor of our then shared bedroom floor. I can very clearly remember getting all of her coloring books in the mail. The last few were unfinished, and I felt I shouldn't finish them. On March 6th of this year, it's been 12 years of having these coloring books in my room. I went through the books, and soon I was crying. I flipped to the last pages of the book we were working on before she passed away. The page was finished. I hadn't touched these books in 12 years. I don't have any recollection of finishing this page. I've had clinical depression since she died. I was diagnosed the day after I found out she was gone. This experience makes me believe she's not gone. She also communicated with me in dreams several times. I know season 4 is over, but I would really love at least a response. I showed my sister the page, and she said she never touched it. I called my aunt, and she said she was the one who gave me the coloring books. She said I stopped crying and stared ahead of me. My aunts tried to get me to speak, but I said, "Maria?" The lights in the living room, kitchen, and my Uncle Rocky's room. He came downstairs and grabbed my shoulders. "You can see her too?" I have all of the coloring pages in a scrapbook I've had for years. Am I going crazy? Or can this happen? Crow. Whoa. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's something specifically I haven't heard of happening, like with a coloring book, but I have heard many stories of people who, after they pass, they still are able to interact with physical items. One that's coming to mind is there was a man who, when in his lifetime, he would just collect jars and jars of pennies. That was just like his thing. And so he had closets full of pennies. And when he died, they were just there in the house. And then throughout the day, all of his family members would find pennies in just like random locations. And, you know, we find pennies all the time. But when they checked the closet, the amount of pennies in the jars were now lower. So it's like, whoa, was he moving the pennies from his collection out into the real world? I don't know, maybe. But, you know, stories like that where it makes me think that, yeah, the dead can interact with physical things. That's kind of sweet, though, of your aunt to finish the coloring book. All right. Well, hang on, let me mark this as red. That is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Usually this is going to be on Wednesdays, so next week it will be Wednesday. I do post the stream onto the YouTube channel the following day, so this is going to go up on, I guess it would be Friday. Hey, Dark Phoenix 6024, how's it going? But yeah, so if you missed the stream, you can still catch it the next day on my YouTube channel. All right. Now it's time for me to go. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Until next time.